Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Friday, December 9th. Erev Shabbat Parshat Vayishlach. Towards the end of Chamishi, beginning of chapter 35, after God has appeared to Yaakov at Beit El, slipped in, just after the verses describing the building of the altar and a very great high moment for Yaakov, a sense that God is with him, it's good. We have a verse that tells us, Vatamat Devora meineket Rivka. Devora, Rivka's nursemaid, died. Vatikaver mitachat leveit el tachat ha'alon, and she was buried just down below Beit El, beneath the tree. Vayikra shemo alon bachut, and Yaakov called that tree's name the tree of weeping. What is going on here? Why are we learning about Rivka's nursemaid and her death? And why is she seemingly with Yaakov? Was she the nursemaid who nursed Rivka? It's a possibility. Or is it a nursemaid who worked for Rivka and nursed the children? Another possibility. Why is she with Yaakov? There are some suggestions. It could be that Yaakov decides it'll be, now that he's leaving his uncle Lavan and his years there and coming back home, it would be lovely for me to bring back to my mom her nursemaid, an elderly woman. And it's sad that she dies before she can bring her to see his mom. And so he says, he cries about this because what a tragedy that he couldn't make his mother happy that way. It's a possibility. Rashi suggests that no. That's not the reference. It's not that she hasn't been living there. She was living with Rivka all this time. So what was she doing with Yaakov? Says Rashi, quoting Rabbi Moshe HaDarshan, Manyan dvor beveit Yaakov, what's she doing there? The Fisham Ra Rivka li Yaakov v'shalachti v'lakachticha misham, because when Rivka sent him off, she told him, she promised him that I will send for you and I'll bring you back from there. She fulfilled her promise. That the whole storyline that we read about Yaakov saying, I'm going home, and God says he should go, right? It didn't happen alone. It was actually that Rivka sent for him. That it's time. You can come back 20 years later. So, and who does she send? The nursemaid. Now, if she sends her nursemaid, the one who maybe was attending to her and moved and came to Canaan with her when she married Yitzchak, so she's a few years old, she's a number of years older than Rivka, it's pretty strange that she would send her. You send somebody who's a little bit younger. So I would be more likely to suggest that it's then the one who worked for her and helped take care of the boys. So they're older than Yaakov, but they're not older than mom. So she sent, and then Meta Baderach, and she died on the way, so that feels sad. Says the Ramban, that's not what it means. That's not what it means at all. And he presents something which is really tragic, Alon Bachut, in a different way. Aval Yitachen Lomar. Rather, it is likely to say, Shlo hayalo kavod b'mitata. Oh, I'm sorry, go back one step, excuse me. The Ramban's earlier point, which I'll just say outside, is that this isn't really the death of Rivka. This is an illusion. I'm sorry, I messed that up. I'll repeat it. This isn't the death of Devora. This is an allusion to the death of Rivka. So why not just tell us? Just say to us. We read about others who died. We'll read about Rachel's death in the Parsha. We read about Sarah's passing. Why didn't the Torah tell us about Rivka's death? We'll read about Yitzchak's passing also in the Parsha. So why doesn't it tell us about her death? And he answers, Yitachen lamar shel hayala kavod b'mitata, because the Torah wanted to hide this, because it really was a very dishonored death. How so? Ki Yaakov einenu sham. Yaakov wasn't there. He hadn't made his way back. Esav sonei ota. Esav hates her. V'lo yavo shama. He wouldn't come home. Yitzchak kahu einav ve'einenu yotzei mibeito. Yitzchak was disabled. He couldn't see. He didn't leave the house. The Torah didn't want to have to say what happened, which was that strangers buried her. The B'nai Chet. the local townspeople in Hebron, they buried her. Not a family member present. And so we should know that Rivka died, and we have the allusion, he claims, by telling us about her nursemaid, because her nursemaid also dies, and that's why she is buried there. But the tears are not for Devorah, they're really the tears for Rivka. And you just think about how tragic this is. A disabled husband who couldn't be there is his own tragedy. The Ace of Peace is one. We have another piece of a puzzle for us. We spend our time thinking about Yaakov and Esav, always against each other, and Esav wanted to kill Yaakov and hating Yaakov. Here, the Ramban can mouth these words that Esav hates his mother, his elderly mother, and he doesn't come home, not for the funeral, and seemingly not for the years in these past 20 years either. What was it like to have been Rivka in those years? Yaakov had to flee and he's away. Esav refuses to come, and Yitzchak is impaired. It's a really hard life. And in this Ramban comes the Musar message to us all. There are many things that might keep us apart. There are realities that keep us apart. There was a reality that Yaakov couldn't be home because of the death threat against him. But whatever we can do, we must do. And it's not just that the funeral should be mechubad, should be honored. It's that the later years should be as honored as they can. And this is Musar that I give myself as a child at a distance from my parents. And thank God we have telephones. In earlier years there were letters, yes, true, but there are telephones, and there are now abilities to video together, and that's a really, really connecting thing. But nothing replaces presence. Nothing replaces presence. And so if we're blessed to have parents, and if we're blessed to have children, and we're the parents, we've got to make sure that we're holding together. And if there are things that create real tension, animosity even, we got to figure out how to repair them. Because it shouldn't be that way. And if it's just distance and life is busy, even more so, to make sure that we are present as much as we can be. That is the message hidden in this Ramban. And may we be blessed to be present in love as much as we can. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.